What is going on, Michigan fans? It's Clayton Sayfie with the Wolverine.com here with 5 takeaways from the Wolverines' 31-6 win over Bowling Green Saturday night in the 14th ever night game in Michigan Stadium history. The new lights, you had the scoreboards lit up at night for the first time, so it was a pretty cool environment at the Big House on Saturday night. We'll get into Michigan's game. Make sure to like this video on YouTube. If you're excited that Jim Harbaugh is back as your head coach this week against Rutgers to kick off Big Ten play, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, head to the Wolverine.com. Get all of your Michigan football, basketball, and recruiting coverage. Just $1 gets you premium access for your first month. All right, let's get into it. Takeaway number one, J.J. McCarthy was pretty sloppy in this game, and that comes on the heels of 2 fantastic outings to start the season. Things went really smooth for him the first couple games, but he faced some adversity here. Tonight, the Michigan offense starts out with four runs on their first drive. They score a touchdown. We'll get into the run game in just a little bit, but second possession, they get all the way down to the goal line, and a spacing issue. J.J. McCarthy throws his first interception of the night. It looked like A.J. Barner didn't quite run his route exactly where he was supposed to be. His defender's able to come off of his guy, and then J.J. going for Roman Wilson, and it gets intercepted. So Sharon Moore called that a spacing issue. The second one, trying to go Cornelius Johnson a little bit deeper on a post route, and it just wasn't there. He just wasn't open. It was a bad read. He kind of underthrew it as well. Cornelius didn't really have a chance to come back and try to break that ball up. And then the third one, he's trying to throw the ball out of bounds after getting flushed from the pocket and evading the pass rush, and he just doesn't have enough oomph on it, and it gets intercepted. And JJ said next time he's throwing that thing into the 300 level. But you definitely need to do that. It's a lesson that needs to be learned, and he said it's something he's done in practice a little bit early on in the season. But it's easier to learn that lesson, I think, in games. He also had a couple other misses. He could have hit Tyler Morris before the half on a deep ball. He was wide open, didn't put enough air under it, and then kind of missed that throw. Even his touchdown to Cornelius Johnson, one of 2 for JJ on the night, the other going to Roman Wilson. But even on the one to Cornelius, it was an ill-advised throw. JJ admitted after the game it was batted around a little bit. Cornelius makes a really nice play on the ball and is able to score the touchdown. But, I didn't think JJ responded as well as probably he would have wanted to. I mean, each interception was kind of a little bit more mind-boggling than the last one. Mistakes are going to happen. He's got to clean them up, and I think he'll respond going forward. But, you would have liked to see a cleaner game out of your quarterback, certainly, especially against this opponent. And Michigan only led 14-6 at the half because of some mistakes. They also were sloppy in special teams. Bowling Green going with those pooch kicks. Max Bredesen coughs one up. Braden McGregor coughed one up, but Michigan recovered on the next pooch kick. So Michigan went over 10 minutes without having the football at one point in the first half because of those turnovers. And when your offense accumulates 8.2 yards per play like Michigan did in the first half, you got to get them on the field. You got to keep them on the field, and you got to clean up those mistakes and finish drives with touchdowns or at least a field goal. You want to end every drive with a kick, either an extra point, a field goal, or a punt. Punt isn't that bad. I know against Bowling Green it'd be frustrating, but that's what coaches are looking for. They don't want those turnovers that give the ball over to the other team. We'll see how JJ looks next week. Takeaway number 2, the defense kind of took matters into its own hands there in the third quarter. I mean, you started off with Bowling Green getting backed up there, and Chris Jenkins absolutely sniffing out a screenplay. Jalen Harrell gets in the face of the quarterback, and Chris Jenkins is just waiting in front of the running back. And I think Michigan would have absolutely, eaten that thing up either way if Chris Jenkins picked it off or not. But he gets the pick. He gets it down to the 2-yard line. He said he was too fat to get in the end zone at his post-game presser. But Blake Corum, who was sitting next to him, said, "Hey, I appreciate that." Blake Corum scores on the next play from 2 yards out for Michigan. And then the next drive, Jalen Harrell again, he knocks the ball free from the quarterback. Michael Barrett gets the fumble recovery. That defense was very, very good after a couple mistakes early on. Josh Wallace got burned on a double move. Odu Hilaire for Bowling Green drops a touchdown catch. It could have been worse than it was, but they gave up a couple big plays in the passing game early on. But Michigan cleaned some things up. Bowling Green, unfortunately for them, had to go to their third-string quarterback after Camden Orth was knocked out. Connor Bazelak doesn't even start in this game, was unavailable, and that really made them one-dimensional team. They kind of wanted to run the ball, and as Sharon Moore said after, just get out of this game. It seemed like alive, a lot of injuries, and hope everyone's okay over on the Bowling Green side. But, I mean, the Michigan defense, just a really, really good job, only allowing 205 total yards, 3.6 yards per play, only 81 rushing yards, 2.3 yards per rush, and 10 tackles for loss for the second straight week for the Wolverines. So they're really getting in the backfield. They're being disruptive, and we will see what it looks like against some better opponents down the road. And I think Rutgers is going to be that next week. Not sure how great their offense is, but we'll get into that game throughout the week. Number 3, Michigan runs the ball better in this game, and particularly Blake Corum, I thought looked pretty close to vintage Blake Corum. He starts off the game with a 54-yard rush on the first play from scrimmage for the Wolverines, and that got them going. They score 3 plays later. He had 2 touchdowns on the night, 12 carries, 101 yards, averaging 8.4 yards per carry. I thought the offensive line played a little bit better. They got some more push in there, and we'll talk about offensive line substitution in just a second. But Donovan Edwards had really struggled in the first couple games. He has 9 carries for 50 yards, still averaging 5.6 there. Didn't break off a big one. His longest rush, just 11 yards. But I thought he looked a little bit better, minus a couple plays. And, they're starting to kind of get that run game going, getting that rhythm. And frankly, Michigan was asked about it. Blake Corum was asked in the post-game press conference, when do you start getting concerned about the run game? They had 31 rushes for 169 yards. You take out the 54-yarder, maybe the numbers don't look as good. But Blake said there's no concern. And honestly, they could have ran Blake Corum much more than they did, just 12 times in this game. And I think they could have ran him all night and had a ton of success. You also had a 13-yard rush or negative 13-yard play on J.J. McCarthy's sack that he took, and was clearly on the offensive line there, by the way. But, that factors in. They had some garbage time carries. It didn't really amount to much, and that factors into the average as well. I thought the run game was actually pretty good, even though the numbers were not that gaudy in this game on the ground for the Wolverines. They only ran 44 plays. That's the least amount of plays Michigan has run in a game since the 2011 Western Michigan game. And that game ended after 3 quarters due to weather. They just called that game. So this was just an odd game. Again, they didn't possess the ball for over 10 minutes at one point, didn't run many plays. The efficiency was actually very good, despite the final numbers not looking all that dominant. Takeaway number 4, offensive line tweaks for Sharon Moore and the guys up front on the Michigan offensive line. Third quarter, they make a substitution. They bring in Ladarius Henderson, the Arizona State transfer, who has not played much through 2 games, but he comes in at left tackle. They move Carson Barnhart from left tackle to right tackle, and Miles Hinton, who was at right tackle, comes out of the game. And I thought they found something a little bit there. Too small of a sample size to really make a final determination, but that group was providing some good push. I thought the pass protection was good when they were in there. Michigan in the third quarter, most of which the starters were in, had 11 carries for 54 yards. Again, getting some good movement up front. So we'll see if they continue to tinker there. They said on Monday, Sharon Moore and Jim Harbaugh, that this offensive line starting lineup was set for now. They said it's always a living organism. It can always change. But it seems like there's a chance at least of that changing this week. And I don't expect them to be too committal on anything during the week as things go. And we'll kind of see how it shakes out against Rutgers. But, we'll keep an eye on that offensive line rotation, because the offensive line has been good, not great through 3 games. They did allow that sack early in the second quarter that kind of blew up Michigan's 2-minute drill before the half, and it was a little bit disappointing there with a couple guys coming free. Carson Barnhart gets beat, and then a blitzer through the A-gap between Drake Nugent and Trevor Keegan comes through, and you just can't have that happen. So sometimes it's okay to have mistakes, put them on film in games like these so that you can learn from them and you don't make the mistakes when the stakes are a little bit higher. Takeaway number 5, and finally, it's probably not time to panic for Michigan. You still win by 25 points. I know there's going to be a lot of discussion about the quarterback play in this game, but I think we've seen enough of J.J. McCarthy, not just this year, but throughout his career, to believe that he's going to bounce back, that he's going to be a very good quarterback at the very least for Michigan this season. We did see some positives. I mean, the run defense was dominant. The defense overall, forcing turnovers, holding Bowling Green to just 205 yards, 6 points was pretty darn good. And you still don't have some of those guys in the secondary like Rod Moore and Will Johnson. Neither of them played. That's a concern for me right now, that you just kind of need to get them out there, get them game reps so that they can step in. It'll be a little bit more seamless. But like we said, run game got going a little bit. You would have liked to see a better rhythm offensively, but there were positives to take away from this game. And one of the big ones going forward is that Jim Harbaugh is back. Jim Harbaugh is your head coach again. I think that would have helped on Saturday night, especially with JJ calming him down, and being able to, kind of make sure that offense responds the way it needed to. Everyone stretched a little bit thin there with Jim Harbaugh out on the coaching staff, but now they're all going to be back in their places, and they're going to be ready to go. So we'll see what Michigan does this week in preparation for Rutgers. You can follow all of that over at thewolverine.com. Again, $1 gets you your first month of premium access over there. Join the discussion on our message board. Get all of our premium content. Again, like this video if you're excited that Jim Harbaugh is back on the Michigan sidelines, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate all of your support, and thank you so much. We'll see you next time.